The town of Rawhide. It was one of those towns that sprang up in the middle of nowhere in Nevada. Unlike a lot of towns back in the day, Rawhide never really had a large mine that the town itself was built around. Instead, Rawhide was a town that got built up around several small mines, and had it not been promoted, it most likely would have never really existed at all. It was in 1906 that Jim Swanson was out prospecting and made a discovery of some rich gold and silver in an area that would soon become known as Rawhide. Word got out about that discovery, and soon he was joined by other prospectors looking for gold. Two of these men, Charles Holman and Scott McLeod, who also found some pretty good deposits near a place called Hooligan Hill. Scott McLeod had been prospecting over in a place called Buckskin earlier, but got himself tossed out of the area over some legal wranglings, and of course being bitter about all this, he figured that naming area of the town Rawhide would be a way to say, who needs buckskin, when we got Rawhide. Holman and McLeod worked their claims somewhat, and then sold them to a group of big city investors and moved on. They didn't really go far though, as they started to prospect over in a place called Stingaree Gulch, where they found another rich deposit of gold and silver. They then sold these claims for even a whole lot more money, and then left town to prospect elsewhere. Of course, like everywhere that there was gold, you're going to get the big city investors, and along with them, you get some of the more undesirables coming into town. Gunslingers, poker players, gamblers and stock promoters along with ladies of the night. People that do almost anything to make some easy money. One of these fellows was a man by the name of George Rice. George was a real slick salesman and con artist that came from the town of Goldfield, and set out to promote the town as the land of riches. Come to Rawhide and invest. It's a land of gold, he said. Well, it worked. By 1908 there were about 7,000 people living in Rawhide. 2 years earlier the town didn't even exist. Good old George, well, he took all the folks' money for land and mine investments, and then splits out of town. 2 years later, by 1910, the population had drifted down to less than 500, as the gold ran out. Then in 1908, there was a fire that ran through town and burned pretty much the whole town down. That was a driver for some to leave, as some of the mines that did produce were starting to run out of gold and silver. There was still pretty good grades of gold in Rawhide, just not a lot of it. A few of the town's folks stayed on and mined what little was left, and tried to mill out the ore the best they could. By 1941 there was hardly anyone left, and the post office was officially closed. In the 1980s though there was some renewed interest in the area, and a couple of mining companies got together and formed the Denton Rawhide Mine. That mine became an open-pit mine and ran until the early 2000s, and once the gold ran out, that mining operation closed down. I hope you enjoyed this short story about the old town and mines of Rawhide, Nevada. Please like, share and subscribe, so we can continue to bring you more old lost mine stories.